Alright, so in this video we're checking out the Rekon35 from RekonFPV. This is another Dave C FPV design. Designed to run on two 18650 lithium ion cells with 3.5-inch props. This comes in a variety of versions, different receiver versions, also digital and analog. This one here is the DJI version, or the digital version. And it has a different frame here with a bigger bottom section here for holding the air unit or the Vista. The DJI version comes in two versions. You can get this one here with the Caddx Polar camera, or you can get the RunCam version. I think it's the Link camera, I believe, or the RunCam HD. And then of course the analog version has a different frame and comes with the Zeus 350 milliwatt video transmitter. And because the video transmitter is much smaller, this bottom cage section is also much smaller. This comes with 1303 motors, 1303.5, 5500 kV motors, the Gem Fan 3.5-inch propellers. You got the battery tray there. This is a single bottom plate here, M80 GPS, and you got your hammer antenna here in the back. This one, of course, is left-hand polarized for DJI, and then you got your camera mount here in the front. The angle is adjustable, and your camera mount for your go-to camera or some kind of naked GoPro. The flight controller in here is an all-in-one. It's called the Zeus 10, so the ESCs are 10 amps rated. It is in a kind of a strange orientation there. It's a whip-sized flight controller, but it is rotated 45 degrees. So when you look at the way the USB port is accessible here, is a little bit blocked by the cable, the MIPI cable from the air unit, and there's a right angled adapter you're going to need to get inside there to connect to the USB port. So this is, in my opinion, not great in terms of the design, because using those right angled USB adapters, if you're not really careful, you can rip off the USB ports. So be careful when you are trying to access the USB port on these, because it can be easy to rip those off if you're not careful. So my version here has got the Crossfire antenna here, the Immortal T. Obviously your receiver version might be a little bit different. So on the battery tray here, there are markings, and it might be a little hard to see there. You can see the plus there and the minus there. Be mindful of that. If you plug in the batteries backwards, you at least you'll probably burn out the flight controller, and at worst you may cause a fire. The batteries might explode, so yeah, be careful of that. You can see here that on this side, the positive in the back and the negatives in the front. So it's a 2S setup, so they're lined up in series, so the positive and the negative here in the back are connected, as you can see through this wire. That's how series or 2S batteries are set up. So be very mindful of the positive and negative on your batteries so you don't have a big time problem. Now, if you recall, I did a video on this guy here, which I've stripped down. This is the Eachine Nano LR3, which is also 2S, but in a different setup here with the battery on the top and the bottom, but only can carry 3-inch propellers, although it has the same size motor, 1303.5, but a lower kV, oddly enough, 4500 kV instead of 5500 kV. So, and it has similar parts. I think this is probably also from HGLRC, but the rebranded Eachine. But as you probably saw in the previous video, in this one I stripped it out and I did a conversion. I'll link that video in the video description if you're interested to know what happened to this guy and what I did with it. But yeah, basically the 3-inch prop is too small to carry two large 18650 batteries. Just you're at huge amounts of throttle, 60% most of the time. Yeah, it does have a pretty good long flight time, but it's just kind of like flying a like a semi truck. It just did not have a very good maneuverability or agility at all, but it flew. And of course that was analog only. This is DJI. With the 3.5-inch prop, it makes a big difference in terms of carrying the weight around. I did fly it without the camera and with the camera, and in the flight demo at the end, you'll see the differences in how they fly. Every gram seems to make a difference on these heavier setups here, but let me go ahead and show you how much this all weighs. So this is the DJI version. It's 150 grams. The analog version is going to weigh less. I don't have that. You can check the link, and I think it's listed on the product page, just if you want to know how much it is. It's going to be significantly less. Now, with the batteries, so I think they were advertising this to be like a sub 250 type setup, but I think it's only for analog. If you go here, so this is digital, with the two 18650s. These are the Molicel 18650s I use. Now we're already up to 241 grams, and of course, once you stick the Go 2 on here, we are going to be over 250. So it's probably the sub 250 that they're advertising is probably for a Go 2 with the two 18650 cells on an analog setup. That's probably what I'm guessing. If you're going for DJI, you're going to be over the 250 gram mark with the Go 2. If you go with a naked GoPro, you'll be definitely even higher. I think it was a weight even more. If you don't go with the camera, of course, you have to subtract out the camera mount there. You'll be under 250, even with the DJI version. But it's kind of like, well, do you want to fly this without the HD camera or not? I don't know. It's kind of up to you. But yeah, if you want to sub 250, the DJI with two 18650 cells and no camera or no HD camera, then yeah, you'll be under the 250 gram mark for sure. If you're wondering about this camera mount, I've had this on some other HGLRC drones. I'll link that in the video description if you're interested in grabbing the STL for that. Now, regarding the flight time, really depends on how you fly, the windy conditions or non-windy conditions you're flying in, and how aggressively you're flying, and also, most importantly, the quality of the cells that you're using. So there's a wide variety of cells out there, some good, some okay, and some much better. These are okay. These are actually, I'll call on the better side in terms of being able to handle the amp draw of flying, but these are only like 2400 milliamp hours. You can get up to 3000 milliamp hour cells. I think HGLRC cells as well, but I don't know how good those are. I've never tested those, and they're advertising at least a 13-minute flight, so 13 minutes or more. But they're not. It wasn't specified if that was for analog or digital, so I'm pretty sure that's probably for analog. Now, for me, I didn't really fly that long, because I just can't fly for super long sessions anymore. So on these cells here, with plenty of battery left over, starting at about, I think I was on 4.2 and 4.2 volts, and I flew without the camera, and then with the cameras, roughly 10 minutes. I had plenty of voltage left. I think it was 3.8 about, and these cells can go much lower. So, if you're just kind of cruising around, you can probably get a pretty decent flight. I'm guessing, at least on these cells, 15 minutes, pretty safely. And of course, if you're flying more aggressively, or if it's more windy, or if your cells are smaller capacity or lower quality, your flight time is going to be less, or it could be more if they're better quality or higher capacity. So it's going to vary a lot on a lot of those factors as to what your flight time is going to be. Anyway, so interesting, concept here for this platform. 2S setup, your lower kV motors instead of the 1S setup of the original Rekon 3. I do like the fact that they go into the 3.5-inch prop. It would be nice to see like a 1S version like the Rekon 3, but the 3.5-inch propeller instead of a 2S setup. I think that might be really interesting. So yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing something like that, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of this concept here on the 2S setup. I do like the fact that they went to the 3.5-inch propeller. Great. I'm still, this whole bottom section here, I'm still kind of, I don't know. I'm not really sure about that. It's new. I haven't seen anything like this before, so we'll have to see. But I don't like the fact that their board's rotated like that and the USB port is coming vertical. I'm not sure why they wouldn't use a side-mounted USB port like they had on some other boards before, so that is a strange decision I think. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this in the comments below. This is the flight footage, both with the Go-To and without the Go-To. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Alright, so actually not as noisy as I thought it might be. See how the tune is. Obviously with a much bigger prop, even though 1/2 inch doesn't seem like a lot, it just feels like it has a lot more power. Still way heavier than your other 3.5 inch quads out there, like the Baby Hawk 2, Smart 35, etc. But actually pretty decent, not bad, better than expected. And looks like tune's okay. I don't see anything weird going on. There's no wind right now, so nothing really to affect it. Let's see if I can do a flip here. A roll. Whoa, okay. I forgot to change the rates. It's okay. Got a little bounce back there, you know, for the weight. Not bad. But now this isn't really for acro. At least I don't recommend it. Although some people, I'm sure, will try, and there's probably some skilled guys out there that can do it and pull it off. No thanks. This is a cruiser, and trying to get real long flight times out of this. I don't know what's advertised. I imagine about 20 minutes is what they're probably expecting with good cells, of course. It all depends on whether or not you acquire quality 18650 cells. And if you don't, you will have a very bad experience, or it won't even take off the ground, or a very, very short flight time. So your flight time is going to totally depend on the cells you use. I'm using my Moly cells, of course. Very reliable. But they're only 2400 or so, 2500 milliamp hours, not the largest capacity possible. You're looking at the polar camera here. Pretty decent image with the lighting we've got right now. And I did plug this in at home last night to get the GPS to acquire the satellites, because you need to let it sit for a little while to let it lock, and it did. I got 10 satellites. I would assume that it would have stored it in its short-term memory, you know, it's like battery-powered memory, but apparently not. I'm back to 0 satellites here, so I decided to go ahead and just take off and fly it. I'm not going to be testing GPS rescue, but if you can acquire satellites, you can use the GPS rescue feature. It doesn't seem to prevent you from taking off like on some setups. I'm not sure why all these manufacturers continue to put the GPS behind the video transmitter antenna. Not an ideal location, and sometimes it prevents you from locking satellites. It needs to be in a different spot on the quad, on the arm, or on top of the battery, or somewhere away from radio frequency interference. Yeah, pretty agile. Going to get decent power with, of course, with these good cells that I'm using. If you're using poor quality cells, it will fly really poorly, of course. I think I know why they went 3.5 inches on this one instead of 4 inches. I was kind of wondering about that. It's probably for the all-up weight, to keep it under 250 grams. We'll have to see. I haven't actually weighed anything of this stuff yet, but this looks like it's right at the limit, or feels like it. All right, I'm going to throw the Insta360 Go-To on there. We'll get a little bit of footage and see how that looks. All right, definitely feel that extra weight.
I think I'm above 50% throttle now, whereas I wasn't before. So adding this a little extra weight here will affect your flight time, of course. I'm not doing a flight time test because everyone's experience is going to be different based on the batteries you use. But I have a feeling this is going to be at least 20 minutes if you have good quality cells, if not more. I'm more interested to see at this weight, with the extra weight, how the go-to footage is going to look. Of course it'll be stabilized. In the FPV feed it looks pretty smooth, so I don't see a lot of jitters, so it's going to obviously be smooth in the go-to footage. It's been raining quite a bit lately, so pretty wet out here. Yeah, my sample came with a Crossfire receiver. I think you can get an Express LRS receiver these days too, as well as some other receiver versions, but they did not put the RSSI or any kind of control link signal strength on the OSD. Just noticed that. And still no satellite locks. I know I'm in an area that has a lot of Wi-Fi, but this is, I would figure I would get a lock by now. I think it's just where they put the GPS is not good. It's by that VTX antenna. And possibly has something to do with the output power, because I'm back to my normal, like, you know, I'm running 500 milliwatts of output power now, whereas when I was sitting on the bench, I didn't want the Vista to overheat, so I was at 25 milliwatts of output power and obviously blowing a fan on it to keep it cool while I was waiting for a lock. It took a good 15 minutes to get a lock, but it did get to 10 satellites. But I'm thinking that the output power being higher now is preventing the lock completely. So there needs to be some sort of shielding or something here. Surprised they didn't test this. Or possibly the production builds might be different from the prototype builds. That has happened many times on a lot of these models. The prototypes are built in a certain way, they test it, everything looks good, and then when they go and build the production models, they build it in a different way, forget something, and then something like this doesn't work, like the GPS. So if you're wondering, how could that happen? Well, that's how that happens. Human error happens. It happens quite often. Well, and overall, in terms of flight characteristics, really can't complain. I think it flies nice, a nice little cruiser. Way better than the Eachine Nano LR3, obviously with the 3-inch props. And of course, that was analog and much, you know, obviously with the two batteries, same two batteries. Power to weight ratio, quite a bit different. It's using actually the same motors, a little bit higher kV, but because of the bigger prop, it just flies a lot better. In fact, I think it's got the same board in here, so if you want to take your Eachine Nano LR3 parts, you could probably put that into this frame. Of course, the kV will be 4500 versus 5500, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that. Anyway, I think I'll do it for this one. Let me know what you guys think. Talk to you later.